I immediately felt this like overwhelming emotion of, I don't know if this will ever be closure.
This is just one of the hundreds of victims of Bridget Claro, a con artist who worked as a nurse with no credentials for a full year in BC Women's Hospital, treating patients in their most vulnerable state after the most invasive of procedures.
Okay, imagine waking up one day to a letter saying the nurse who literally touched your body during surgery was never a nurse at all. Like, she didn't just fake her degree, she faked her whole life. This isn't some Netflix crime doc or a based on true events movie. This actually happened in Canada. And the woman behind it? She managed to lie her way into hospitals, fertility clinics, and even classrooms for over 20 years without getting caught. Yeah, this is the story of Bridget Claro, the real-life serial imposter nurse who fooled doctors, patients, and entire health systems. And honestly, the deeper you go, the scarier it gets. It's December 2021 in British Columbia, Canada. A woman named Sasha Timu comes home on a freezing Thursday evening and sees an envelope in her mailbox. The sender? The Provincial Health Services Authority. Totally normal. She had surgery a few months ago, so she probably thought it was some boring follow-up or survey. But when she opens the letter and reads the second sentence, her heart drops. We are writing to inform you that an individual who provided care at BC Women's Hospital did not have a valid nursing license. This individual was involved in your care. Let that sink in. Someone who pretended to be a nurse had literally treated her during her surgery. Sasha's mind starts racing. She remembers this woman vividly. Loud voice, heavy makeup, weird energy. That nurse wasn't just unqualified. She was a fraud.
I will always have fear of going into these appointments. I will always have concerns about, are these people qualified? Should I check credentials?
Sasha wasn't the only one who got that letter. Over 1,000 patients received the same terrifying news. And for many, that single letter would unravel a nightmare they didn't even realize they'd lived through. Neighbors talked, patients panicked, and social media exploded with disbelief. Everyone wanted to know, how could this happen in one of the safest healthcare systems in the world? The trust people placed in hospitals suddenly felt fragile, even dangerous. The woman behind the disguise was Bridget Denise Claro, born in Ottawa around 1972. Her story reads like a psychological thriller, only this one left real victims in pain. Bridget had a rocky childhood, bad relationship with her parents, early run-ins with the law, and by 19, she was already convicted for fraud and forgery. She spent time in jail, but that didn't stop her. Through the 90s and 2000s, she kept reinventing herself, posing as a teacher, a hairdresser, even a college nurse in the US. But here's where it gets insane. She actually enrolled in nursing school in Colorado. 2 years in, they discovered her criminal record and kicked her out. Instead of moving on like a normal person, she decided to pretend she finished it. That's right. She took her failed dream and turned it into a full-blown criminal career. And she became terrifyingly good at it, mastering every fake ID and forged signature like a pro. With every new lie, she built a fresh identity, blending confidence with charm to fool anyone in authority. Friends called her smart. Police later called her manipulative. To her, it wasn't crime, it was survival, and she'd perfected it. One of those patients was a woman named Kayla, who had surgery for endometriosis in 2021. She remembered Nurse Melanie being loud, messy, and overly chatty. During her pre-surgery prep, the nurse kept missing her vein while trying to insert an IV. After several painful jabs, another nurse had to step in, and then came the moment that left Kayla frozen. When she accidentally brushed against the nurse's chest and apologized, Melanie grabbed her hand and made her cup her breast, then laughed hysterically. Kayla tried to brush it off as bad bedside manners, but after surgery, she slept for over 30 hours, covered in bruises, and later learned she'd been injected with a bizarre mix of drugs, including fentanyl.
Things like fentanyl and hydromorphone intravenously, which led to an assault with a weapon charge, the weapon in this case being an intravenous needle, because people consented to being jabbed by a real nurse, but they did not consent, obviously, to being given intravenous drugs by somebody with absolutely no medical credentials whatsoever.
When she got that same letter months later saying her nurse wasn't licensed, everything clicked. The woman who had touched her, drugged her, and laughed through her pain wasn't a nurse. She was a criminal. And her victims would later realize that every smile, every word of comfort was part of an elaborate performance she'd been perfecting for years. The story spread fast, with women sharing their experiences online and demanding justice. For many, the physical pain faded, but the emotional scars and the fear of trusting any nurse again stayed forever. When the truth came out, the public was furious. How could someone fake an entire medical career and fool multiple hospitals? In court, prosecutors revealed she had 67 criminal convictions, everything from theft to identity fraud to assault. A psychiatric evaluation diagnosed her with antisocial, narcissistic, and borderline personality disorders. The psychiatrist literally said she committed fraud to soothe her feelings. Translation: lying made her feel good. And while she never intended to physically hurt people, her reckless behavior left countless victims traumatized. Patients came forward describing panic attacks, therapy sessions, and the loss of trust in medical professionals. Even the real Melanie Smith, the nurse whose identity she stole, had her reputation dragged through the mud. Imagine Googling your name and finding articles about a fake nurse using your identity to assault patients. In April 2022, Judge Robert Wadden didn't hold back. He said, "Her fraudulent impersonations breach the trust our society places in healthcare. This behavior must be denounced in the clearest terms." The court sentenced Bridget Claro to 7 years in prison, reduced to 5 years and 8 months with time served. But even while behind bars, new charges kept surfacing. In August 2023, she was hit with another round of charges: fraud, impersonation, assault, and using forged documents connected to her time at another clinic in Victoria. And in July 2024, she pled guilty to 11 more criminal counts. So yeah, she's still in courtrooms, still crying into tissue boxes, still proving she has no idea how to stop lying. At the end of the day, this isn't just about one fake nurse. It's about how our institutions, especially hospitals, trusted paperwork more than people. It's about women like Sasha and Kayla, who walked into a hospital for healing and left with trauma. And it's about how someone like Bridget Claro could keep reinventing herself in plain sight while society looked the other way. So yeah, next time you're in a hospital and someone says, "I'm your nurse today," maybe just hope that their license is real. Because clearly, sometimes the scariest person in the room isn't holding a scalpel, it's the one holding your chart. What do you think? Should Bridget have gotten more time? And do you think hospitals are doing enough to stop people like her? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because honestly, this whole thing gives real-life horror story energy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. 'Cause trust me, you don't want to miss the next one.